And then finally we had, oh no, everything's falling. And then finally we had read a book with a face. Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with April's TBR. So in April, we have exciting reading plans because the Spring Equinox of the Orilium Magical Readathon takes place in April, and I just always love doing this readathon. It is hosted and created by G over at Book Roast, so I will leave her most recent announcement video down below if you'd like to check it out. But I'll go into kind of my TBR picks, and then we'll go into the prompts for the readathon. As far as like what I've got planned, I think it's going to be a fun month. I'm very excited. I will be vlogging as I usually do for this readathon, so stay tuned for weekly vlogs in April. I hope they are fun and enjoyable. I don't really know what we're getting into, but I'm excited based on some of the prompts and prompt picks that we've got coming up. But before we dive into this month's TBR, let's take a quick look at how I did in March. I can't remember if this is a rule that I talked about the very first time in my very first video, but I have one of the like newer things that I'm doing this year is when I have a prompt, if there's a book that I've read throughout the month that is not the one that I picked for it but does fit that prompt, then I'm going to like switch out some books that fit better. So I've done that a couple of times this month, so I wanted to bring it up if I haven't done that already. But as far as how like the prompts I picked for March, the first one was to read a paperback, which I picked Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Taylor Hibbert, but I actually ended up reading Kingdom of the Curse by Carrie Maniscalco, so I switched that one out. Then we had a buddy read, so we had The Ranger by Monica McCarty, which is a buddy read with my friend Taylor. We had a book with royalty included, so we had Kingdom of the Wicked, a book that included smut, so we have A Beautiful Bitch by Christina Lauren. We have Weapon on the cover, so we have Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan. It's the third in the Percy Jackson series, and he is holding a sword there. We have Just to Read a Lisa Kleypas book, so we had Secrets of a Summer Night, which is the first in the Wallflower series. We then had to read a romance, which I picked The Sizzle Paradox by Lily Minnon, but I'm actually going to swap it out for Say Yes to the Marquis by Tessa Dare. Then we had to read a book with a face on the cover, so I read the 9th volume of Dreaming Sun by Ichigo Togano. So as far as what I haven't read, there are 3 books that I haven't quite read yet. So we have the Percy Jackson book, and then we have 2 historical romance. We have the Lisa Kleypas one and then the Tessa Dare one. So there's a very good chance I'm not going to get to the Lisa Kleypas one, which is fine, but these 2 are the ones that I'm definitely going to be doing. Our buddy read for this actually starts tomorrow as of filming this, so the very last week of the month I'll be spent reading this, so I will be either completed this by the end of the month or be like pages from finishing this one. And then when I'm reading that one, I'll also be reading the Percy Jackson book. So I'm planning on starting this one as well tomorrow, and it's not too long, and I can usually finish these within a couple of days. So I'm probably going to finish both of those, but I'm probably not going to make any dent in Secrets of a Summer Night, so we won't be taking any kind of benefits for this month. But otherwise, I had a pretty decent reading month, as you will see in my wrap-up. So let's dive into our picks for the month. Pick number 1. Oh, okay. Alright, so the very first pick is a Chris or husband pick, so he has to dive into the basket, pick a prompt, and then also pick a book for that prompt. So let me go grab him. So I have the husband here. It's going to be the very first pick, which is basically you go into the basket and you pick a prompt, and then you have to find a book for that prompt.
Lovely.
So it's less willy-nilly, but you still get to decide.
This always works so well.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, it's a small one. Read a second-hand bought book. So it can't be like...
So it has to be one
new.
From... Okay.
Yep. Okay. Have fun. Oh, he's leaving. That's dangerous. That honestly terrifies me. You left and then changed your mind.
Yeah.
Okay. You're having a hard time with this, aren't you?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Let's have you read this.
Okay. Would you like to explain what it is? Would you like to show them what it is? Okay. Hashtag news
called
fail.
Hashtag news fail.
We just got that one, so you guys haven't seen it yet.
It's what it sounds like.
It's like a collection of
It's
stories.
a collection of news fails. And since you worked in news, I thought you will either enjoy it or hate it.
Okay. Oh, there's not too many. Okay, this could be a before bed, I suppose. Okay. That's your official choice.
That's my official choice.
Okay. Thank you. So, like he mentioned, I will be reading a news fail, which is by Jamie Kilston and Allison Kilkey, I think. They are part of the Citizens Radio podcast. This is just a collection of short stories or essays where they're just talking about different parts in news. I don't really know what I'm getting into, but it sounds like it could be fun because Jamie is a comedian, Allison is a journalist, so they have some very different takes and things. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Number 2. All right, read a book with a POC author. So the next prompt is to read a book by a POC author. So I will be picking up Can't Escape Love by Alyssa Cole, which is a novella within the Reluctant Royals series. I have this one and then one more full-length novel, and then I'm done with that series. But this one is just a fun, cute little novella. We follow Regina and Gus. And Regina is the founder of this company called Girls with Glasses. It's like, it says here she's a super nerdy businesswoman, and like her business has started to get like really popular and it's making her very stressed, and therefore insomnia has decided to come back up. And the only thing that really helps her out is the voice of this puzzle obsessed live streamer named Gustave Nguyen, but his archive has been deleted. And then you've got Gus, who has basically been tasked with creating a escape room based on a fantasy, or not a fantasy, a romance manga or anime, and he's just like, I don't even know where to start. So she comes calling and they strike up a bargain where she'll help him and he'll like give her his voice. I don't really know if like he's just going to record stuff for her to listen to or he's going to be there. I don't really know, but it seems like that they're going to have chemistry in real life, which is really exciting. And we have actually met her previously in the series. She is the sister of one of the previous main characters. So I am very interested in this, and I just have needed the chance to get this novella in, and I haven't done it. So we're going to do it this time. Number 3. Ooh, a book featuring fake dating or arranged marriage. The next one is to read a book with fake dating, arranged marriage, marriage of convenience, something along those lines. So I'll be picking up The Belle of Belgrave Square by Mimi Matthews. This is the second in her Bells of London series. I read the first one, Siren of Sussex, and absolutely loved it. And so this one, it's like this 4-friend group, and each person in this group is going to get a book. And so this one follows Julia, who is the one that we were introduced in the first book that has like really bad social anxiety and does not do well at balls. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to go. But basically it says here, a London heiress rides out to the wilds of the English countryside to honor a marriage of convenience with a mysterious and reclusive stranger. So we've got Julia and then this notorious captain, Jasper Blunt, and then he's a military hero, and there's some stuff there. I think there's going to be like, I don't really know what we're getting into, but I loved the first one so much, and I'm really excited to be diving into the second one. So I don't think we're getting any more from this author this year, but the next 2 in the series will be coming out next year. So I really want to get to this one so that when the other 2 start to come out, I will be up to date and ready for them. Number 4. Okay. Right. Oh, a seasonal cover. The next one is to read a book that has somewhat of a seasonal cover. I can choose basically any season I want. I went with spring just because that's kind of what we're in right now, and that's what I'm feeling. So I'm going to be finishing up the final volume of Dreaming Sun by Ichigo Taganu, volume 10, because look at this beautiful like pinky color that just screams spring to me. So this is the end. We've made it. It's a relatively thicker manga than like the past few, but I am determined to get to the end of this series this year. We're gonna do it this month. I always need a good manga, especially with readathons and stuff happening, so I'm gonna finally get to it. And I am nervous and excited all at once because I don't know where we could go from here. Like, there could be some like last minute switches in this book. I don't really know, but they've been kind of teeing up one thing this whole time. So I'm very interested to continue, but basically this series, hopefully this will be one of the last times you hear me explain the series, follows our main character Shamana, who basically runs away from her home. In the very first book, stumbles upon this stranger in a park, and he offers to like help her out with some lodging. And so she ends up living with a couple of guys that she goes to school with, and it's their like found family, and she's basically falling in love and figuring out what she wants from life and some other stuff that happens along the way. But I am very interested to see where this is going to go because I haven't really liked the latter half of the series, so I have a suspicious feeling I know how this is going to end, and I've just kind of like resigned myself to the fact that I'm not going to get the ending that I want, but I'm going to go in ready and willing to like have a good time with this. You know, it's the end of a series. I've read all 10 volumes or 9 volumes before this, so I'm determined to like go in. And I'm excited. I am really excited to kind of finish up the series and kind of see how it concludes, because I have never read a full manga series that is this long. Actually, I'm not even sure I've ever finished a manga series, to be honest. So I am excited to have like one officially under my belt, and we'll see how it ends. Number 5. Right? Read a book that will make you cry. The next book is a book that will make you cry, and I think this is based on what it's about. I have a suspicious feeling that this one's probably gonna give me some emotions, but I'm finally going to be picking up Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This one I'm buddying with my friend Lauren, so we'll be reading it sometime this month. I'm very excited about it. And it's about like the afterlife, so I feel like it's going to make me cry at some point. Like, I feel like there's no way around it, you know? And TJ Klune just has a way with like stories. So this one follows our main character Wallace, and he basically gets picked up by the Reaper from his own funeral, which is very sparsely attended, and he's taken to this tea shop called Kyron's Crossing. I know what it's based on, and I can never remember how to pronounce that guy's name, but there's a guy that works there named Hugo, and he and Hugo, I think, strike up a friendship, and he is determined that he's not ready to kind of move on yet. Like, the whole point of this tea shop is that the dead are kind of like passing through before they go into like their version of the afterlife, and Wallace is just not ready for that. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go, but I've heard amazing things about this one, and I think it's time, you know? And again, I think TJ Klune just has a way with words, and I feel like I'm gonna cry, but also based on the subject matter, I just feel like I feel like this is a good guess for that. So yeah, it's finally happening. Number 6. Oh my. Read a book that starts with one of your initials. The next one is a book that starts with one of your initials, and I kind of give myself some grace with this. I use first, middle, maiden, and married name, but I did actually end up going with a K for Kelsey, and I'll be picking up King of Immortal Tide by Penn Alderson. This is the second in the Darkmoor series, which is a series of kind of like standalones where you don't really need one for the other one to make sense, but it's all set in the same world. I read the very first one and very much enjoyed it, and this is a reimagining of like Hades and Persephone a little bit, so I'm interested to see how this is going to go. It's between a human and an elf, which is very interesting, and as you can probably tell, it's a male-male romance. So I have loved the one book. I have a lot of books by Ben Alderson, but the one book that I've actually read by him was the first in the series, and I really enjoyed it. And he's just announced the third one in the series, which is going to be a Little Red Riding retelling. So I think it's about time that I finally picked this one up. I don't really know what we're getting into, but if it's anything like the first book, I'm going to enjoy it. And also K for Kelsey. So that's my pick. Number 7. Oh, a book under 200 pages. We have a book that is under 200 pages, so I'll be picking up what I had planned as my nonfiction for the month, which is Death of the Priory, which is by James Rudick. It says Sex, Love, and Murder in Victorian England. This is a really, really short kind of historical true crime story. I recently did a video where I talked about all of the historical and true crime stories that are just kind of on my TBR, so feel free to check that out if you want. This was definitely on there. And this one is like just under 200. It's like 190 something, 199. If you take out the like notes and the index of sorts, it is 189. So relatively short book, but I am still very interested in this one, and I have quite a few true crime stories, so I just think that they're fascinating, and I just think this is going to be really interesting. But I should probably tell you what this one's about. It follows our main characters, Florence Ricardo, who is a widow, and she ends up marrying this young attorney named Charles Bravo, and they move into this very large estate called the Priory. But their marriage is not what it seems. It seems like there's a lot of like maybe familial abuse and stuff that's going on there, and then he ends up dead and no one really knows what happened. So I can't remember if this is one of the stories where it's never, oh yeah, it says here, the case has never been solved until now. So I think we have some answers in this book, and I'm interested to see how this is going to go, but also true crime, and I think it's gonna be really good. I think it's gonna be really good. And number 8. Oh, a library book. And the last book that's on my kind of TBR game is to read a library book. So I'll be reading Kingdom of the Feared, which is the 3rd and final book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Carrie Maniscalco, which you guys probably haven't seen. Well, you wouldn't have seen my wrap-up yet, but if you couldn't tell by my readjusting of last month's TBR, I read the first 2 in that series last month, and I've fallen in love, and it's like my new obsession. So my library has the audiobook for this one, and it actually just came up as available. I had it on hold for a while, so I can now listen to it. So I'll be picking this one up, and eventually I'll get my own copy, but the other 2 I have are both paperback, so I need to wait until this one comes out in paperback before I can purchase it. But I have the audiobook and the Kindle version from my library, and I might pick up the physical from my library just so I can have that as an option, because I do like to physically read it while I listen. So I haven't decided on that one yet, but primarily any way that I read this, I'm going to be reading it via a library copy. So I'm really excited about this one. But this series follows our main character, Amelia, whose twin sister, I think, was brutally murdered, and she is trying to figure out kind of what happened. They are witches, and it's set in like, I can't remember if it says or not, but it's kind of like an Italian kind of setting, which is really interesting. And she ends up accidentally summoning this demon Wrath, and he also has reasons as to why he's trying to figure out what's happened with her sister, and so they kind of team up to figure out what happened. And there's so much more to it, obviously, but the first 2 books are like, when I say they're my new obsession, I mean I literally can't stop thinking about them. So I'm really glad that I was able to get a 3rd one on this list, because I just need answers, you know, like I need the finale of this book, and I've just become obsessed with it. Okay, moving on to my TBR for Magical Readathon. I was able to get almost everything. That's not true, actually. I was able to put some stuff on, let's just say. So as I did last year, the career I'm choosing is, I'm actually doing 2 because a lot of it overlaps. The one that I did last year was Master of Elements, so I'm going to continue with doing that one. But she came out with a new one that was called Wild Form Druid, and that just feels appropriate for the character that I have created for myself. So I will be doing both. I think there's only, yeah, because one of them has 6 prompts and one of them has 8 prompts, so there's a lot of crossover here, which is really exciting. But let me dive in really quick to the prompts that I'm going to be trying to fulfill this month. The first one is Elemental Studies, and that is to read a book with flowers on the cover. So I'm going to be picking up The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, which is the second book in this series, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I have just absolutely, I fell in love with the first one. So I'm really excited to finally dive into the second one. And this is the fun Fairy Loot edition, but there are flowers all over this as well. It's very springy. And then I don't think there's any under the dust jacket, but there's definitely some on the cover. So that's what I'm going to be using for this prompt. It's also going to fulfill kind of like the subscription book. I've been trying to read at least one subscription or gifted book a month, and so far I'm doing okay. So this will kind of count for that one. This series is just one that I've just fallen in love with. The first book follows Evangeline, who is convinced there's a guy that she's fallen in love with, and he's about to marry somebody else, and she's convinced that there's some other reason as to why that is. So she goes to this fate, which is the Prince of Hearts, basically to say, can you please stop the wedding? And he agrees to do so if she agrees to kiss 3 different people of his choice. Now, his kiss is poisonous, but like there's like reasons why he wants her to do what she is doing, and then of course there's way more to it than that. And we had a pretty decent cliffhanger bomb drop at the very end of the first book, so I'm interested to dive into the second one and see what that's about. The third one's coming out later this year, so I am trying to get caught up before that one comes out because, like I said, the first one just was so good. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. The next one is for the class Shapeshifting, and that is to have the wolf on the cover, the title, or part of the author's name. So I'm going to go with on the cover, and I'm going to pick up the second book in the Fortuna Sworn series by KJ Sutton, which is Restless Slumber, and there is a wolf right there on the cover. It's pretty chunky compared to the last book, but if you guys remember, I read that one for my most recent installment of BookTube Maybe, where I read books based on Becca from Becca and the Books, and I loved the first one. It took me heart and soul, and I just, you know, like I'm in the middle of so many really good series right now, and I'm actually continuing with them, which I'm just very proud of myself for doing. But I fell in love with one. I have the first 3 in the series. The 5th one comes out this year sometime. So I think it's going to be amazing, and I'm just really excited that I have an excuse to kind of force myself to dive into this one again, because even though I loved it, I'm really bad at continuing with series. So having a book like this with like a required prompt of sorts on it, I'm so excited. I think it's going to be amazing. So, oh yeah, so this one basically, I should probably tell you what this is about. It follows our main character Fortuna, who is a nightmare. And that basically means that she has the ability to see the biggest fears in everybody else. So once she touches someone, she can kind of impact them, I guess is the best way to describe it. And so like she can pull out their fears and like cripple them in a way. And her brother has been missing for a couple of years, and she is convinced that, you know, there's more to it than that. And this guy shows up, this fae of sorts basically shows up and says, hey, I can help you find your brother, but I need you to marry me. And she does. So there's way more to it than that. Like I've said when I kind of reviewed it, or actually really anytime I talked about it, is that it reminds me of the first book in the ACOTAR series. So if you like that, I think you would enjoy this. And that's definitely I'm just so excited I can dive back into this world. I love it so much. So the next one is Animal Studies, and that is basically to flip a coin where you have heads. I think it's heads is nonfiction, tails is fiction. So I'm gonna go grab Chris and make him do it, because then he'll be impartial to kind of the outcome. So as you can see, Chris has returned, because the next prompt is a coin flip. So like head is nonfiction, tails is fiction, and so I thought to be impartial, I would make Chris flip the coin and tell me which one I'm gonna do.
And I'm going full referee mode.
Oh gosh.
This side is heads. This side is tails.
I know how that works. You're so aggressive.
It is heads.
Okay. Nonfiction. So we got heads, which was nonfiction, so I'll be sticking in Death at the Priory by James Riddick for this prompt. The next prompt is astronomy, and that is 2-letter E's are in the title somewhere. Now, when I was planning this, I thought they had to be next to each other, but they don't actually have to be next to each other, which is totally fine. But I'm going to go with Lore Olympus Volume 3, because technically Volume 3 is part of the title, and there's 2 E's back to back right there. I'm a dummy, and if you will notice, there are 2 O's in Lore Olympus as well, so either way, this works for this prompt. That's what I'm going with. It might be cheating a little bit, but I consider that part of the title. So, I'm finally going to read volume 3. I'm very excited. Volumes 4 and 5 are coming out sometime this year. The 4th one's coming out in June. So I really need to get to this one before we get the next volume. I love the series. It's a graphic novel series that kind of does a reimagining, if you will, of the Hades and Persephone stories. So yes, I'm reading 2 different Hades and Persephone retellings this month because I have no chill and I love them so much. And they're like, look at the beautiful illustrations. I love it so much. But also this author, Rachel Smith, does not shy away from some of the harder topics that take place within Greek mythology. So I'm just really excited to dive into this one. And, you know, I could always use a graphic novel or manga to help with the readathon prompts because I have some chunky, well, actually I don't have that many chunky things on here, but I could always use non-chunky things. So the next one is Conjuration, which is to read a book recommended by a friend. So I'll be doing Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. Like I mentioned, I am buddy reading with my friend Lauren, but it's also going to be part of the next installment of books that you guys recommend. I did my very first installment. It came out last month, so I'll leave that linked above if you want. But I'm trying to read 12 books this year, recommended by you, and my friend Taylor actually is the one who recommended this book when I posted it on Instagram. So this is the one I'm choosing, but also like so many people have told me to read this. So many different reasons as to why I'm writing this one, but I'm gonna fit it in. The next one is for the prompt of Restoration, which is basically close your eyes, shuffle, and point. So I'm gonna get Chris and I'm going to put some random books up on a shelf and have him pick one. And that'll be my random one, just to make the random things even more random. So I picked 4 random books here, and I'm gonna lay them up on my shelf, and we're gonna have him just point and choose which one is gonna work, but I need to make room. So let's do this. Can you see all of them? There's 4. Okay. Okay. Here is the shelf right here. Okay.
That one.
I can't tell. You're kind of in between. Okay. This one. So the one that he ended up choosing was A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair, which is yet again another Hades and Persephone retelling. I did not plan this month very well, or I did, depending on what you choose. Maybe I'll make one of the weeks a themed read, and I'll just read all of the Hades and Persephone retellings in one week. That could be fun. Anyway, this one is supposed to be this was like I loved on the book internet, TikTok, that kind of thing. It's a fantasy romance that is relatively adult, and I'm finding that that is my thing here recently. So just let's add more things to the fire. So this one, obviously, like I said, is a Hades and Persephone retelling. Oh, look at that. I forgot about this. I got it from one of my friends. So gifted book as well, getting that one in. So I'm not sure how this is going to go as far as like how contemporary it is. It says here on the front, as she struggles to sow her seeds of her freedom, love for the god of the dead grows and it's forbidden. So we've got some forbidden romance, which is another thing that I'm discovering. It's kind of one of my things. So this could scratch the itch, that fantasy romance itch that I am really diving into here recently. So I'm very excited about that one. I did not plan to have so many Hades and Persephone retellings, but honestly, not upset. The next one is Art of Illusion, and that is to match the clothes to whatever book you're reading. So I have one tentatively in for this one, but I could switch it up kind of how I'm feeling based on the clothes that I have. But I'm going to go with the book that I have as my middle grade book, and that is the 4th in the Percy Jackson series, The Battle of Labyrinth. This one, look how it's giving me Taka from Moana vibes, honestly. So do I know what this is about? No, because as of recording this, as you guys know, I haven't read the 3rd one yet, so I don't want to read the back of this one. But basically, this series follows a guy named Percy who's a demigod, which means one of his parents was a Greek god, and he is sent to this camp called Camp Half-Blood, and they are basically trained to protect themselves because there are people out to get them. And there is a big bad Titan guy that is out and causing mischief, and so Percy and his friends are kind of solving all these issues. So I'm excited to see what the next one is. It's giving me like the bluish vibes, which I don't have a whole lot of, but I think I've got a couple things. So we might just like read this one weekend and just match everything that I'm wearing that weekend to this. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I've got tentatively in for this spot. But I'm going to give myself the grace to switch it out, obviously, if I need to. And the last one that's required for me is Spells and Incantations, which is to read a book between 389 and 415 pages. So I've chosen The Belle of Belgrave Square. I can't remember exactly what it is. It ends at 400, so right smack in the middle of that. So that's the book that I'm choosing for that one. And then, of course, in true Kelsey fashion, I do have other things to tell you about, but I do also have like the rest of the prompts, because there are 12 prompts total picked, so if I need to fit other stuff in, I can. Some of them actually are books that I had on my TBR that just I didn't fit it into like my game TBR, but I just wasn't able to fit it into that one. So we'll probably be reading a lot more. But the only other thing that I have on my list right now that I kind of am planning on reading this month is my Buddy Read My Friend Taylor, which is going to be the next book in the Highland Guard series by Monica McCarty, which is The Viper. This one follows this guy named Lachlan McCurry. And if I remember correctly, there's a lot more to this. We've met him a few times, and I'm really interested to see his story. This basically just follows a group of guards in Scotland, and each book in this series follows a different romance. This is the 4th book, I think. Now we're on the 4th book, so I'm excited to see where this one goes, because this is a name that we have seen a few times. And I'm interested to see the story behind that. But we are going to be reading that sometime this month. And then, although our Tessa Dare Buddy Read ends in March, we are going to be starting a new buddy read for Lauren Heath books. So I'm not sure what book we're going to be reading this month, but I will be also probably fitting in a Lauren Heath book in this month. So lots of plans, lots of buddy reads. We're gonna see. I have big plans, which usually ends in me not completing everything I want, but we're gonna obviously prioritize the Magical Readathon and then go from there. So that's my plan for April. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of my TBR. Please let me know if you guys are participating in the Magical Readathon. I always love knowing kind of the, your calling or whatever your career, I guess, that you are going for. Are you like me and you have a couple options? Like, it looks okay now, but I was kind of calculating it for the fall, and August is going to be a rough month. There are so many books to read to complete those prompts, but that is fall Kelsey's issue, and spring Kelsey is very excited about this. So please let me know what you guys are doing if you're participating. And as always, if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned in today's video, I would love to know your thoughts on those as well, or anything that you were planning on reading in the month of April. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so remember to check all of that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!